Hi everyone! If you work in a wet lab, you are probably juggling a bunch of things at the same time, and I'm sure you can relate to these situations. You try to spread your experiments out over the week, but somehow the most complicated steps all land on the same day, so you just stay late and power through. Or you have too many things running at once. A timer goes off, and for a few seconds, you're just standing there thinking, wait, which experiment was that for? And then you write your lab note, date what happened in experiment A, in B, in C, how A turned out, how B, how C. It gets long, but somehow the important information is still hard to find. The biggest problem is usually not the planning or the final write-up, it's what happens during the experiment. Sometimes mistakes happen simply because we're doing too many things at the same time and we don't even realize that multitasking is the key reason. Attention is a limited resource. When you have too many tasks running in parallel, your mental bandwidth gets overloaded. It's like having too many programs open on your computer and constantly switching between them. At some point, things lag and mistakes become much more likely. That's why we built Cell Planner. It's a research management tool made specifically for wet lab work by people who actually do wet lab work. It starts with experiments planning. In Cell Planner, you can give different tasks different colors and place them on a weekly planner. And yes, technically, a lot of calendar apps can do something similar. But for wet lab work, you really don't want a calendar that forces you to schedule everything as long blocks of time. It may look nice to put culture cells from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. as one big colored bar, but if you are running multiple experiments, your calendar quickly becomes impossible to read. Also, the point is not to record what your cells are doing for 12 hours. The point is to remind you what action you need to take. Most of the time, what you actually need to schedule is just start a culture at 8 a.m. And beyond that, you also need ways to organize, categorize, and archive your tasks properly. Then comes the part where most mistakes happen, the experiment itself. At the very least, you need a tool that lets you mark what is ongoing and what's already done. You also need a place for quick notes. For example, sample 1 and sample 2 may have been mixed up. This step took longer than usual. These notes are important, but they're not really final results, and you probably don't want to keep rereading them unless something goes wrong later. So in Cell Planner, we created a dedicated place for notes made during the experiment. You can mark them as standard notes, attention notes, or important notes. And any cell with a note will show a small visual indicator so you know something happened there. You can also use different timer presets and send them to different cells. So when a timer goes off, you know exactly what it belongs to. And if that still isn't enough to keep everything clear, there's also a workbench mode. You can jump into today's workbench where all of your tasks for the day are laid out and you can move things around freely. Maybe you want finished tasks on one side, maybe tasks that use same instruments should stay together. You can organize it in whatever way makes sense for your day. These two clips are for start and end times. If you don't need them, they can just stay there as decoration, and if you want, they can remind you before time is up. As far as I know, there really isn't another tool like this for wet lab work, but even if there is, I'm pretty sure it doesn't have the next feature. Lab notes organized by task. When you are running multiple experiments at the same time, writing everything into one long daily note is honestly not a great system. In Cell Planner, every task can have its own lab note. And because you already entered the key information earlier, like the timing, the actions, and any notes from during the experiment, you don't need to rewrite everything from scratch. At the end, you just add the outcomes. You can use different text colors insert images, add links, tables, or write in whatever format works for you. If you have a lot of tasks, Cell Planner also generates a Gantt chart in the project management view. You can connect related tasks and see how one experiment leads into the next. And if you need to report your progress to your PI or your team, there are export options too. You can export organized by time or organized by task. You can export images for printing or Word documents if you want to edit them further. Our goal is simple. We want Cell Planner to help wet lab researchers work more calmly, make fewer mistakes, and keep their research process more organized. Our team is made up of postdocs with, on average, more than 10 years of wet lab experience, so we are pretty confident that we understand researchers better than a typical software team does. And we will keep building features that match what scientists actually need in the lab. If you think Cell Planner might be useful for you, you can try it directly on our website. To save your time, we even rebuilt about 80% of the desktop software experience in the web demo and included sample data to show how we use Cell Planner to manage research. Just open the demo and see whether it fits your workflow. Thanks for watching and good luck with your experiments. Bye!